I am your host, Joe Ducaro. Are you struggling to make the most of your marketing budget during a recession? To discuss tactics on maximizing ROI from your marketing budget during a recession, I'm joined by Claire Daniels, CEO of award-winning marketing agency Trio Media. How are you doing today, Claire?
I'm great, thanks, Joe. How are you?
Yes, very well, thank you. All the better for chatting to you about
Oh,
tactics for during a recession. In a recession, marketing is normally the first department that can get affected. But in your opinion, what should people still be aiming to achieve, even though budgets are tight?
well, I may be the anti person here on the topic because I really believe marketing should be something that you lean into during a recession, and it shouldn't be the case that it's the first thing where budgets get cut, because we've seen it in examples time and time again during the financial recession 2007 2008, during more recent financial difficulties during COVID. Actually, the people that continue and keep going and they lean into the marketing and they invest are the ones that come out fighting and on top when things improve. Whereas, divesting and taking your money out of marketing is a surefire way to guarantee you're less likely to survive and to retain market share during a recession. So the first thing I would definitely say is just consider not taking the easy route, and pulling everything out of marketing. I understand it can be hard. And actually, my experience, so I was client side strategic marketing for 10 years before coming agency side. So I've worked on both sides of it. And, my experience from the client side of marketing is actually, you know, you maybe spend a lot, you have high budgets, but you may struggle in measuring where the results are coming from for all the budget that's being spent. So the biggest piece of advice I would could give is to really get to know your numbers, get to know the data on what is delivering a return for you into your market budget and efforts. Because ultimately, if you can still generate a return, why would you stop? So if you can still see you're getting a return on ad spend, you're getting an ROI, your conversion rate is good, there is literally, with those metrics, there's no argument for stopping. If you're just looking at vanishing metrics like traffic or leads coming in, but you're not actually seeing, well, are we making money off the investment that we're putting in? Then yes, it could be very easy to just think, well, we'll stop and we'll pull away because maybe the number of leads is dropping. If you're still getting a return on your spend, if you've cut back your spend, you need to be fair to yourself on that you're going to get less leads, but actually is the return still good? So it's the biggest tip I guess from this is keeping on top of the data and the results, so you can measure what is working for your business. Because I'm guessing there's going to be, B2B, potentially some B2C marketers listening to this as well. And ultimately, there's not going to be a one size fits all approach. Some people may need to lean more into social media, some into more events, like whatever their business model is. So it's not up to me to say this is the one kind of channel you should invest in or move away from, but actually what works for your business. And as long as that's still working, there's no reason to stop doing it.
You touched there on sort of the online side of things. Most companies watching this, listening to this today, will have some sort of online presence already. What tactics could you suggest to improve their sort of organic presence? You mentioned social media as one. Perhaps that's a route we can explore.
Yeah. So, I mean, with anything really, I would say if we're looking for a key tactic, what I would say is consistency. So, again, in terms of the type of content you put out is going to vary massively, from industry to industry. If we look at the social media, you definitely do need to be leaning into video content, regardless of what you do. But, whether you're going down a TikTok route or LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or another platform, based on where your target audience is spending time and what it is that you do. It's not for me to say it's that particular channel that's going to work for everyone, but whatever it is that works for you, again, taking the data, which channel generates the best return engagement for you, where are your audience spending the most time, and lean into showing up there consistently. I think one of the key things really, and that I want to kind of get into in this piece, is ultimately around a recession, the main thing that we need to look at is your messaging. Because do you need to change the way you are positioning yourself to your target audience to be more accepting and acknowledge the recession? So, do you need to think, well, could we do more sales? Could we do more things that are price friendly to people? Can we lean into something where we're not so much acknowledging as if everyone's got loads of income to be spending at the moment? So, it's really about, for any business, always, it's about understanding who your target audience is. But is your target audience likely to suffer during the recession or not? Because some people won't. And then if they are, how should you talk to them differently to how you would normally talk based on the
Mm.
fact they have got less money to spend? So I, aside from my work at Trio, I'm a trustee at a charity. So obviously one of our big concerns is, in a cost of living crisis, are people going to reduce the money that they donate to charities? So we've had conversations about changing our messaging to lean into it. Like we still got a job to do, we've still got to get donations. So how do we acknowledge that and address it and actually target the people who will not be affected by the cost of living crisis? The people that are affected, who can't afford to pay their energy bills, or to have the heating on at night, we can't even speak to those people. There's no point trying to speak to those people, but there's loads of other people out there who have money still. So let's go after those people. So it's about really just honing in on the people that can keep spending during a recession and how to position yourself to them. So in terms of that piece around showing up and your online presence, and whether it's on social or across search or anything like that, it's about creating relative content and showing up, and being appropriate for your audience.
So consistency and almost, yeah, tone. Almost, it's almost sensitivity, isn't it? I suppose when
Yeah,
times are really tough, it's important to make sure that you're not, coming across in a way that you you don't want to, if you see what I mean. Um,
yeah.
so what sort of KPI? To go back to your earlier point, you did mention a couple of sort of KPIs and that sort of things. What sort of KPIs and goals should people look to adjust or put in place when experiencing budgeting constraints, would you say?
So definitely it needs to be looking around return, so actually, I mean, I think marketers should be measuring this all the time, and actually too frequently they're not, so a lot of people may know their overall budget and the overall revenue, but they're not looking at how each pot of budget spent in certain areas are then resulting in what amount of revenue. So it's about just really nailing down on that. So definitely return on ad spend if you're doing any advertising. What do you get out for what you spend, and is that profitable for you? Because if it is, and that continues to work during a recession, why would you stop? Like, what is the reason to? You have data to show you can still make money. So unless your business doesn't want to make money, why would you stop doing that? With anything else, obviously the return on investment, I would say, the areas we might see slip are the places that don't bring as much of a direct return. So
Mm.
if you're doing PR, for example, could be one of those, in terms of it's great for brand awareness and building shareholder value and all these things in terms of getting your brand out there in a positive light. But it's very difficult to measure specific sales and a financial return from PR, and PR is usually an expensive investment.
Mm.
So that is one of those areas that, obviously, if you can't track it and you're not able to demonstrate a return, those could be some of the areas that are likely to slip. However, I would challenge, if that was the case anyway and you knew you couldn't track it and you knew you weren't getting a return, why were you doing it?
What you
Or if you
doing?
were doing it and you felt the value, as much as the value isn't financial, are you still seeing that value in other ways? Because that is the reason for doing something like PR. For me, working and running a digital agency, a lot of digital marketing that we do is very trackable, and measurable. So we can put a financial return on everything that we do. So, for anyone who's investing in social media, whether that's just the content creation or they're doing any advertising, well, you can see how many clicks to your website you've had from the social post. You can see how many conversions you've had from social. If you can't see this, it's possible you're just not looking in the right places. So not everyone knows how to go find this data, but it's there. So You know, go look for the data in terms of the traffic sources that are driving the conversions on your website. You know, if that is the place you convert people, whether it be via a form or if it's a e-commerce checkout, but look at those channels that are driving those sales, then look at what you spend to put into those channels each month, and is the return greater than what you spend? Is it profitable for your business? If you're not sure, go and ask those questions, you know, because actually what you probably can't see straight up as a marketer is the profit margins, so you know how
Mm.
much money is coming from it. But actually, if you know decisions are getting made, you know, by your CFO or FD in terms of profitability, well, just go and ask those questions and find out, so you can clue yourself up on what's really working for the business. You know, beyond just, well, we know we generated 300 leads from doing this activity.
Mm.
Okay, but what did those 300 leads result in for the business?
So, just continuing on the ensuring you're only using things in your stack, you know, that of value to you. Then, are there any tools or software that you use to keep track? You know, any tools or software that you've used to help you succeed and make sure that everything's in alignment? Then.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think everyone in marketing is going to use Google Analytics, and I know it's an obvious one, but actually everything I'm talking about, although all that data is available in Google Analytics, so it's definitely worth paying mention to it. So going on there, being able to look at where your traffic has come from, where your conversions have come from, what's working on your website, what's not, like, is invaluable.
Mm.
We then work with a piece of software called Agency Analytics that ties in analytics from all the different data sources we use, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
we use to provide the monthly reports to our clients. So that pulls the data not only from Google Analytics, but from Search Console, from Lighthouse, from SEMrush, SE rankings, from Meta, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Trustpilot, Shopify, WooCommerce, like you name it, everything can pull through into there. And that gives a bit of an insight for tools we use. I mean, a lot of our time is spent on SEMrush. We do a lot of SEO work for our clients. We also use a tool called SpyFu, which allows us to look at organic and paid search, like content and strategies for any business, so we can look at it for our clients but also for their competitors as well. So yeah, but I totally agree. Obviously you need to have what's right in your stack, and we regularly do reviews, and I'll challenge and question people on, are we using this, are we getting the most out of it, otherwise I'm not paying for it. Because yeah, those are the areas that can sometimes run away with you in marketing, in terms of your marketing budget. You sign up for all these things, and then, you know, the money gets tight and you start going through your bank statements and going,
Mm.
well, hang on, we're spending this much there, this much there, this much there, are we using it? You know, I asked that question of my team literally the day we came back over New Year's. So I've been looking at everything and I was like, is everything that we're spending money on getting use and adding value to the business? I'll spend more if it is. You know, if you need more, I'm not necessarily making cuts, but also I'm not
Mm.
spending money on something that we don't need.
And that sort of, I guess the frequency of those checks will increase, I imagine, in the coming months, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it's just about being savvy and knowing your data. And I always say to the team, and it's on my mind because we're discussing it today, but like, negotiate from a position of power. Like, if anyone ever comes to us about anything, we straight away go back with the data, we show them the results they've got, and stuff like that, if anyone's ever not sure of the value they're getting. That should be the way we all approach it, in terms of, we should know our data, we should know our stats on what we're doing, so that actually marketing directors, CMOs, anyone like that, or anyone in charge of marketing, if you're getting pressure from other members of the board who are coming to you and saying, well, actually, we need to cut back, you've got the evidence and data to say, actually, what you're spending in this department is delivering you, you know, a 6 times return, whatever it may be. Then gives them, you know, not much of a leg to stand on at all. So it's just about getting really clued up on the stats that are going to work in your business, to guarantee that you actually can continue spending in the right areas.
Mm. I want to change tack ever so slightly now, Claire, because I saw the other day you were posting about AI and specifically Chat GPT.
Yeah.
What do you think the financial implications of AI will be in the future in terms of marketing?
Well, look, I don't think it's going to be free for much longer. I mean, ChatGPT, which is created by OpenAI, which what I was posting about on LinkedIn. So we've started having a dabble around with it because as a digital agency, like we need to stay on the forefront of technology. We can't shy away from AI just because we all think it might replace our jobs. We have to lean into it and see what support it can give us. But yeah, currently that is free. It's the the knowledge and skill that that tool has got, like it's insane that it can be used for free right now, but I think it's to drive adoption, and I think very quickly people will start paying for it. I was having a conversation with a tech expert that I know on LinkedIn, and don't quote me on this because I don't know where he got his figures from, but he said that it's costing something like $3 million a month to run ChatGPT on AWS. So there's no chance that can continue for free for much longer. So I actually think it's going to start being chargeable. So I'd probably encourage people to start seeing how they could get value and benefit from it whilst it's free, to then learn whether this is something that's worth investing for them in the future. In my opinion, I definitely see AI working alongside marketers. It's not going to replace anyone's job. I really don't think it has the grounds for that, but actually it's going to make us all a lot more efficient if we can embrace it in the right ways. For example, I was on a Google Meet earlier that I wanted to record, and now you can transcribe the recordings on a Google Meet. So I could transcribe a meeting. I could then put the transcription into Chat GPT and ask it to summarize the key points from the meeting straight away. That then
Mm.
gives me my follow up for the meeting or whatever it may be. Or if we were recording this and transcribing this right now, you could then get a summary of it to put out. Like, this is just making our jobs far more efficient. So I don't think it should replace the human touch of being able to create content that appeals to different target audiences. This tool can't speak as a 20 something woman if that's your target audience. So you need to speak in her tone of voice versus you need to speak in the tone of voice of a 30-year-old male for another campaign. It's not going to be able to get to that. I mean, maybe it will one day. So I could be speaking out of term there, but I don't think it's there yet. But yeah, I think it's definitely something that will work alongside us. And the recession could slow its adoption if it does start charging and people aren't ready to invest in new technology. They want other people to kind of do test it out first, wait for it to take up more mass market adoption, and then maybe more marketers will start getting involved in it. But yeah, I would definitely recommend giving it a go because we're already seeing advantages to us in our business.
It is very encouraging as sort of the more webinars and podcasts I do under the Essential B2B banner. The key message that I keep receiving again and again is people buy from people. So it's really encouraging to think that you don't think that the AI can take that human element out yet. So we'll all be in a job. So that would be nice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, there's no way, don't get me wrong, I think absolutely there'll be a version of this where an avatar could come on and have a conversation with you and completely do this podcast and probably give you even better advice than what I've given. But it's not real, and none of us want that. Like, we don't want to be engaging with robots. So, it's quite a fun trend at the moment, and people are getting the AI versions, like, submitting a picture and getting the AI versions of themselves created because it's a bit of fun. Soon as you step over the line and go, okay, that's now the version of you, and people aren't interested in the real you, they're gonna interface with the AI version of you instead. Everyone's gonna move a mile at that, I think, because we're just not ready for it yet. So yeah, it's going to help and support us, but it's definitely, you need a human touch at every stage of the work that we do as marketers, from dealing with people and talking to people to the content you create to the ideas you have. It's not going to be able to think of ideas. If someone comes to you with a business and a new campaign and says, tell me what I should do, it's not going to have that yet.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
don't quote me on anything because bloody hell, I'm not an AI expert, and the technology is probably far beyond what we're even dabbling into right now. But that's just my opinion on where I think we are today.
Well, let's come back in 5 years' time, Claire, and then we'll see if you can detect if I am actually a robot or if I am my authentic self.
Deal.
Amazing. Claire, this has been a really, really fascinating conversation. I've really, really enjoyed speaking to you again. Um,
Thank you.
if I could push you for one top tip for everybody watching this about maximizing your return on investment during a recession, what would that one tip be?
Get to know your data. Because like I say, there is no one size fits all. So you've got to figure out what works for your business. And actually, from my experience, not enough people do know what's going on to the level of we know this is resulting in that. So get to know your data, know it inside out. And when someone comes knocking and asks you to reduce your budget, slap them across the face with actually, this is working fine and we'll keep our budget, please. And actually, if you give us more, we can sail our way out of the recession because we know what we're doing is working.
Fantastic. Claire Daniels, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us for this lead forensics webinar. Hopefully, you've come away with some actionable tips for maximizing your ROI during a recession. If you're interested in getting ahead, you can turn your anonymous website visitors into actionable sales leads with Lead Forensics. Lead Forensics is a software which in essence tells you who is looking at your website in real time, meaning you can track their journey through your website, tailor your sales approach, and close those deals. So we're going to put a poll up just on the screen here. You can select to get a free demonstration of the Lead Forensics software. So please feel free to click on the call me up to set up a demo of how Lead Forensics works, and let's get the free no obligation trial started. That'd be fantastic. Thank you again for joining us for this webinar. We will be back with another webinar in the future, so keep an eye on our socials and